Hello! Welcome to the Web Security and Bug Bounty course. Now, you've already seen the promo video and you kind of know what this course is about, but in this video, we want to do a full course outline so that you know exactly what we're going to learn so that you have a clear path to success and what this course is going to give you. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this course isn't just for ethical hackers or penetration testers. We've made this course so that anybody that's interested in web security can learn from it. So if you are a web developer that wants to improve their web app security, well, this course is for you as well. And obviously, if you want to become a bug bounty hunter or a penetration tester, well, this course is definitely for you as well. All right, let's get into actually what the course is going to look like for you. Right off the bat, we're going to start off by creating what we call our virtual lab. This is a hacking lab to make sure that we keep our computers safe throughout the course, and we can do different sorts of attacks and experiments on them. And this course is going to work with any type of system that you have. Linux, Windows, Mac OS, everything's going to work because we're going to set up this virtual lab for you. From there, we're going to learn about enumeration and information gathering. This is where we actually start with the bug bounty and website penetration testing. We cover numerous topics and tools that allow us to gather as much information about a certain website as possible. From there, we get into introducing you to Burp Suite. And this is a very important tool of a bug hunter. And it will set us up for a lot of the topics that we cover later in the course. We then get into our first bug. And this first bug on a website, we're going to talk about HTML injection. It's one of the easier bugs to find and use, so this is where we start. But then we get into more complex topics. For example, we're going to talk about command injections and execution. This is an extremely dangerous bug where we can inject commands through an input and affect a server or a system. We then talk about broken authentication. What happens when authentication on a website is not done properly? Well, we can take advantage of it, and we're going to show you how to do that. And we're going to use different examples to things like cookie values, HTTP requests, forgot password page, and a lot more. We then get into brute force attacks. Even if a website is secure, if we as testers have an easy and simple password set, then it's also going to be easy for us to guess it using what we call brute force attacks. And we're going to show you how to prevent brute force attacks as well as show you how they work. We then talk about broken access control. Access control enforces policies such as what user can and cannot do, or intended permissions for a user. When that access control is broken, well, we can take advantage of it. Then we dive into what we call cross-site scripting. This is a very common attack, and we're going to talk about all three main types of cross-site scripting, which are stored, reflected, and DOM-based cross-site scripting. Then we dive into one of the most common ways that you can affect a system, and probably one of the bigger vulnerabilities that always comes up, and that is SQL injection. This is where we're able to access or manipulate the database. This is probably one of the most important sections, and again, we're going to talk about how we can use it and also how to prevent it. I know we have a lot, there's still a few more. In this section, we're going to talk about XML data and how we can use XXC or XML external entity, where it allows an attacker to interfere with a website that processes XML data. Finally, we talk about the idea of insufficient logging and monitoring. You see, to have proper security, you need to have proper logging and monitoring to keep track of all the requests and information that a page might go through, because this can help us determine whether a certain attack is taking place or not. If we don't know an attack is taking place, well, then we're just not going to notice it. So this is another important topic that we left towards the end of the course. But then probably why you're taking this course and the most exciting part is right here, the bug hunting. So we're going to talk about how to monetize bug hunting. How can you become an independent researcher that tests websites and perhaps collects bug bounty? Everything that we've learned in this course, we're going to show you how you can monetize this knowledge. And we're going to talk to you about different platforms that you can use to start a career as a bug hunter, if that's something that you want to do. Finally, this course is meant for anybody with any sort of programming knowledge. As a matter of fact, you can take this course without any programming knowledge. We include bonus material for web developer fundamentals, bonus material on Linux and how to use the Linux terminal, and even networking. The idea is to take you from zero to mastery. Finally, this course, well, you're in good hands because Alexa is a penetration tester with many years of experience, and he's actually worked on discovering vulnerabilities for multiple companies and government systems. He's going to show you from his professional standpoint how all of these work and how you can actually apply these in real life. It's going to be a ton of fun. And the final thing I want to talk about is our community that we have. When you join this course, as always, as part of the Zero to Mastery community, you get to join our private online Discord where we're chatting with people every day, helping each other out, solving problems, doing challenges together, and feeling like you're part of a classroom. You're going to find myself and Alexa on there every day chatting, and we have a dedicated channel just for this course so that you get to meet other classmates. All right. That's enough talk. I think it's time to get started. Let's dive into the course and let's learn all about web security. Hey there, this is Andre. You're about to dive into the course. But here's the truth. Most people won't finish this course. Why? It's because doing a course from the comfort of your home is going to take something away that is one of the most critical parts of doing anything challenging and worthwhile. Accountability. It's a lot harder to stop going to elementary school than to stop watching an online course, right? But here's the thing. There is a way to guarantee right now that you will finish the course and you will get through the ZTM courses no matter how hard they get. And trust me, it's going to get hard because we want to teach you really valuable skills, and they are valuable because they're hard to acquire. And this is why you're here. If you don't finish the course, it's a waste of your money. But if you finish the course, we truly believe it will get you the skills that you want. So this is what you're going to do that might put you outside your comfort zone, but it will be extremely effective in increasing your chances of success. Ready for it? You're going to come join our online classroom. In the next lecture, I'll provide a private link only for ZTM students. In there are 3 things I will ask you to do. 1 is to introduce yourself to the community. You can share as little or as much as you want about yourself. I'm going to finish X course by this date, and put that date in your calendar too. Number 2, go to Accountability Buddy's channel. Oh, that's a mouthful. And find someone who is starting a ZTM course right now at the same time. It doesn't have to be the same course, and you can have multiple partners. You're going to make sure that you each finish the course and the goals you set out to do. Finally, number 3, hang out in the general chat and talk about anything that you want. You will also have course-specific channels that you can chat in. You want to be surrounded by other learners like you to stay motivated and being part of a class. Now in here, we're also going to have virtual hangout sessions with myself, other ZTM instructors, and students. I recommend having the Discord server open as you go through the course and as you are learning. Now, I'm not saying this to sell you something. This is simply a fact of learning. When you learn in a group, when you surround yourself with other learners, when you have accountability, you are more likely to succeed. It's a fact. Finally, throughout the course, as you encounter problems or challenges, don't give up. Come back to our Discord server and ask questions and get help. But most importantly, as you start to learn and grow your skills, come here and help out other students. Teaching and helping others is one of the best ways to retain the information you just learned. If you create this routine around your learning, opening up Discord, start watching the lessons, surround yourself with others that have similar goals to you, you will have the accountability and the support system to finish the course. I promise you. Oh, and another fun bit, when you finish the course, you post your certificate in the alumni channel to become an alumni. And then who knows, the people that really are stars of the community become star mentors. Ooh. Now, this all may sound silly. You may say that you don't need anybody. But trust me, we've been doing this for many years, and there is this consistent trend of those that finish the course, get hired, and find success in their careers. You have to do the things that are uncomfortable sometimes to succeed. So that's it. See you in the next lecture and see you in our community.
Hello and welcome to the course. Now, the best way that we can start this is by explaining what even is penetration testing. Most of you will know this, but let's still cover it as a refresher at least. So, whether we're talking about network penetration testing or website penetration testing or something as simple as a single device penetration testing, all of this has the same part inside of their name: penetration testing. So, what is it? Well, we can refer to it as an action that we apply to enumerate and discover new vulnerabilities, as well as exploit them and take control of our target system. Now, most of you might or might not know, but penetration testing is constructed of a couple of stages. Let's say we have our hacking machine on the left, and the target device that we're trying to gain access to is on the right. This device can be anything, from a PC to a mobile phone to a website application. It doesn't really matter, the process of penetration testing goes the same. We start off with gathering information. We want to know as much about our target as possible. Why? Well, this allows us to better plan out our attack later on. Gathering information can be done both actively and passively. Active information gathering is gathering information by interacting with the target, while passive information gathering means that we get all of our information without ever interacting with the target in any way. For example, we can get information about Facebook by Googling it and reading about it on another site like Wikipedia. That is considered passive information gathering. After this comes scanning. Now, scanning is a deeper form of information gathering, and it's done actively, which means we directly interact with the target in order to find out more information about it. Usually, this will be the information of technical nature, like what technologies does the target run, what is their website made of if they have one, which ports do they have open, and so on and so on. We finish scanning by performing vulnerability analysis. Vulnerability analysis is just us finding security holes in the target system with the help of information that we gathered. After that, we can successfully exploit the target by using different methods and attacks. These are the main steps to penetration testing. There are other steps, of course, that come after, like maintaining access on the target machine and covering tracks, but these steps that we mentioned are crucial. Now that we covered and went through the basic steps of penetration testing and what those steps are, we can also say that penetration testing can be divided into two main groups. We got network penetration testing, which could, for example, be, let's say, a company gives you their IP ranges of their networks, and we're supposed to perform a penetration test on all of their devices to see if there are any security issues. Those devices could be anything from computers, mobile phones, to printers. And for the second group, we can say that it's website application penetration testing. Here we perform various different attacks to determine whether the website that we are attacking is properly coded and secured. And website penetration testing is something that we will put the most focus on inside of this course. This is because this field is becoming bigger and bigger every single day, due to millions and millions of websites that are online and available right now on the internet. The search for people to secure and protect them is rising every day. You might have also heard of a term called bug bounty. This is pretty much the same thing. It's mostly referring to discovering bugs, or also known as vulnerabilities, inside a web page. And bug bounty is something that we'll discuss a little bit more in the next video, but before we get to it, let's mention what are the two main things we need to perform bug bounty, or website penetration testing. So we will need a virtual machine and a vulnerable web page. Now, we will install a virtual machine to create our own hacking lab or environment that we will use to perform all of our attacks. But as you may notice, to be able to perform a penetration test on a website, we will need a website, right? Luckily, there are many vulnerable web pages that we can run within our local network on a virtual machine that are useful for practicing different attacks and discovering different bugs. And that is also why we need to cover virtual machines. Now, don't worry, we will cover installing all of these. From installing our own machine that we will use to hack, to installing machines with a vulnerable web page. And trust me, it's not that hard as it might sound like. Nonetheless, now that we mentioned some basics of penetration testing, let's discuss bug bounty in the next video. See you there. Welcome back. Let's discuss bug bounty a little bit. We mentioned it in the previous video, but what exactly is it? There is one thing that we know. It has nothing to do with the real bugs. Bug bounty or hunting for bugs is mostly referred as discovering vulnerabilities in a web page. Now, you can hunt for bugs in applications and other type of programs, but usually when someone says bug hunting or bug bounty, it's referred to as a website bug or a vulnerability. Now, these vulnerabilities can be anything from password vulnerabilities, maybe they are not encrypted well and the attacker can easily break them, or perhaps there is a database vulnerability and the attacker can extract all of the information from the database, including usernames, passwords, emails, and other personal information that shouldn't be public. Some vulnerabilities can also target not only websites, but client devices as well. By this, I mean that there are vulnerabilities that could also be dangerous for the client that visits a vulnerable web page. But don't worry, all of this is something that we will talk about in the course, and we will explain how all of these attacks work. For now, it's important that we mention what do we need before we even start hacking. So the first thing that we want to do is to create a virtual environment. And this is something that we mentioned in the previous video. We want to create a virtual machine that we will use for hacking. This will be our own personal machine that we're strictly going to use to run different tools and perform different attacks. But we will also be installing vulnerable virtual machines that are running a web page that we can attack and that we can practice on. Why, you might be asking? Well, we can't just target any website without permission. That is why we're going to create our own machine with a website that we can attack as much as we want. Second thing that we must get used to is Kali Linux. Now, Kali Linux is an operating system the penetration testers use. You probably already know it, but we're going to use it inside of this course. It is a Linux-based operating system that comes with a bunch of useful tools that a hacker needs. Out of all of that, the most important thing for us to learn is to introduce ourselves with basic command line usage inside of Linux. Don't worry, it will be nothing too advanced, we just want to cover the basics. And the last but not least, we need some basic website structure knowledge. We need to understand the basics of website development, just so we can understand the attacks better. For this, we need to know what different programming languages in web development are used for, and we need to recognize them. So we will briefly cover HTML, JavaScript, PHP, and SQL. Why do we need to cover this? Well, most of these attacks are based on injecting code from these programming languages. But let's not confuse ourselves right now. We will talk about that when the time comes. Right now, I want to show you a quick little bug that is easy to perform, yet it's still considered a small vulnerability. Just so I can give you an insight on how easy can it be to sometimes discover a bug. So here I am on a web page that I'm running inside of my local network, and we can see that this web page right here performs a simple task. It asks us to enter the background color that we would like to see. Whatever color we enter, the background will change color. So for example, if I type red and set background color, nothing will change because it tells us to enter the color in this format. And it even gives us an example. Now this is not important for us, so let's just copy the example for the red color and let's paste it right here. If we set background color, wow, it changes to red. But is this the only thing that this web page can perform? What if we, for example, try to inject HTML code inside of this input right here? Well, let's give it a try. The most simple HTML code that we can enter is h1, which stands for header size 1, and then test. And then we close the tags for the header. Don't worry if you don't know this, we will cover this as well. And if I set background color, it tells me the current background color is test. Just by looking at this, I can already tell that this is a bug in this web page. You might not be able to tell it right now, but by the end of the course, recognizing these bugs will become second nature for you. So, what did I notice here? Well, we typed some text in the size of a header 1, and it seems that this website or web page executed it. It read it as an HTML code, and it printed our text in size of header 1. Even if we try to, for example, underline by using U inside of the HTML tags and using header 1 and then typing test again, then we close header 1 and close underline tags. We click set background color. Well, now we got our text written in size header 1 and also underlined. And this is called HTML injection. This is a bug where the web page allows you to input HTML code in some user input field, which in this case is this background color field, and the web page will process it as HTML code. So we can conclude that this user input is not filtered well. If this is too overwhelming for now, don't worry, we will explain all of this in details later in the course. I just wanted to show you a cool little bug that is so easy to find, yet it is discoverable in so many websites that are currently online. Now, enough of talking. Now that we explained Bug Bounty a little bit, let's get straight into setting up our virtual environment. See you in the next video.
Hey everybody, welcome to your ZTM course. Now, as part of being a ZTM student, you get to have a couple of nice freebies, a little bonus, a little extras that all the students that are part of ZTM get. Let me show you some of the extra things you get as part of this course. First off, we already talked about it, but we have a pretty big community of tech enthusiasts, learners. So we have a ton of coding challenges. If you go to our website and go to the community tab, we have coding challenges that you can practice some skills with. We have open source projects that are open to anybody, that anybody can participate that's part of ZTM. We have our Discord server, we have campus events, which is like a live virtual classroom that you get to meet other students and talk to them. And we also have events like Advent of Code or Hacktoberfest throughout the year. We also have cheat sheets. Now, these are all free. None of this requires any sign up. You can just open up a cheat sheet that is related to your course that you want to check out. Let's say we want to check out the JavaScript one. Well, you can actually go through the cheat sheet here and follow along with the course and maybe take notes along the way. These cheat sheets, we add every month a new cheat sheet. So you can just keep an eye on this tab and check out different cheat sheets based on your interests. We also have our blog where we post 2 to 3 blog posts a week, so quite a lot. And we have different topics for beginners, for people that are already working in the industry, different instructor posts. We also have posts about how to get hired, so on and so forth. So you can check out our blog, and we have different tabs here. Obviously, beginner, start here, advance your career. But the most important one is right here. We have monthly industry newsletters. So every month, myself and other ZTM instructors write a recap of what happened that month in the industry. You know how you're always overwhelmed with blog posts, what to read, how to stay up to date with the industry? Well, we try to make it easy for you so that you don't have to read 100 blog posts, watch 100 YouTube videos every month just to stay up to date. Instead, we recap what happened in the industry. So we have a Web Developer Monthly that recaps what happened in the industry that month, what are the best resources to read, what is the big takeaway, all digested into one blog post like this one. But we also have one for Python, one for machine learning, and a blockchain developer. Now we're going to add a few more throughout the year, but these should cover a lot of the interests that students have. Now, finally, you can also check out our career paths. So this, if you're looking for a certain career, will give you advice on what path to follow, when to apply for jobs, what sort of skill levels are required for each of these careers. So again, this website you can use for free, doesn't require any sign up, and you can find different sort of information based on your needs. Now, two last things. One is that we have a LinkedIn group for all our students. So this is great if you want to have a LinkedIn profile and you want to endorse each other's skills, get advice, career advice from people. So there's lots of things happening in our group, and people are always sharing job openings, tips and advice on career, and also endorsing each other's skill. So if you want to boost your LinkedIn profile, this is a great place to start. And then finally, we also have a YouTube channel that we recently started, and we're posting about 3 to 4 videos a week, different topics that are free that you can kind of check out. And as you see, we already have a ton here. We're going to have a lot more coming up throughout the year, but you can check out our YouTube channel, Zero to Mastery, as well. All of these you get for free as being part of the ZTM student. So enjoy, good luck, use these resources to your advantage, and welcome to ZTM.
All right, time to set up our virtual environment. Now, there are a lot of things that we must do. First, as we said, we must create a virtual machine that we're going to use. For that, we need the virtualization software and the operating system that we want to install. The operating system that we're going to use will be Kali Linux, as we previously mentioned. And also besides that, we will also need a virtual machine that will host vulnerable web pages that we can attack. And another way that we're going to practice will be through a website called TryHackMe. Now, this website does offer a paid subscription, but we're going to cover things that the website offers for free, just so we can include everyone inside of it. It has really good practice examples of website vulnerabilities. With the combination of vulnerable virtual machine and with practice examples on this website, we will cover most known and most common website vulnerabilities. Okay, let's first start off by downloading VirtualBox, which is the virtualization software that we will use, and let's also download our Kali Linux operating system. Let's start with VirtualBox first. To download VirtualBox, we want to navigate to the page virtualbox.org. It will lead you to this official page of the website, and if you want, you can read through all of these articles and about VirtualBox if you'd like, but right now we're going to see how we can download and install it. As it says, it has a big download button, so let's just click on it, and it will lead us to this page, which will offer us different platform packages based on which operating system you're running. As we can see, the current version is 6.1.18, and the current platform packages that they have are for Windows hosts, OS X hosts, Linux distributions, and Solaris hosts. Depending on your operating system, you want to choose which one you want to install. Since I'm running Windows on this machine, I will click on Windows hosts. It will ask me where it wants to download VirtualBox. I will just select desktop and click save. And as you can see, it will start downloading it right here. Since I already have it, I will just cancel this download. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do that right now. And while it's downloading for you, let's navigate to the Kali Linux official website, which is at link kali.org, and let's see how we can download Kali Linux operating system. Okay, so we open up this page. It says the most advanced penetration testing distribution. And as with VirtualBox, it has this download button. Let's click on it. and it will lead us to the official download page. Now this downloads page offers the newest release of Kali Linux, or should I say the newest official release, because you also have the weekly unstable and untested releases. We're interested in the official stable release. Currently it is the Kali Linux 2021.1, and the new version of Kali Linux actually comes out pretty much every 2 months. So if you encounter a newer version of Kali Linux or a newer version of VirtualBox, feel free to download that one instead. Since right now the newest one is 2021.1, I will download this one. Now we have quite a few options right here that we can choose from. We have the Kali Linux 64-bit installer, Kali Linux 64-bit live, and Kali Linux 64-bit net installer. As well, we have for Apple M1, we have Kali Linux ARM64 installer, we have the live and the net installer, and we also have for 32-bit systems. Now, if you're running Apple M1, you can go with this one. If you're running a 64-bit machine, you can go with Kali Linux 64-bit installer. And if you're in any case, which I doubt anyone will be running a 32-bit machine, but if you do, you can download Kali Linux 32-bit installer. Now, since I'm running a 64-bit Windows machine, I will go with Kali Linux 64-bit installer. If I click on this, it will once again ask me where I want to download it. I will select desktop and I will click save. You will notice that the size of this file is pretty large, it's 4 GB, so it will take some time. Now, luckily I already have it, so I'm just going to cancel this download. You just wait for both of your downloads to finish and then we can proceed. Oh, and by the way, you also have an option to download it over torrent if you'd like. It's completely up to you. Okay, awesome. Now, let's say that you have both of your files ready, if you don't just pause this video until your downloads are finished, and you should have these 2 files on your desktop. Let's go with installing VirtualBox first. So to do that, we can double click the installer file. It will open the welcome window. We want to just go next. We want to go next here as well. And here you can uncheck some option if you don't like. I will just create a shortcut on the desktop and I will leave everything checked and click on next. And here we have a warning that says installing the Oracle VM VirtualBox networking feature will reset your network connection and temporarily disconnect you from the network. Proceed with installation now. So this pretty much says in case you're doing something important over the internet, make sure you finish with that first before installing VirtualBox. Otherwise you might have some internet connection problems during the installation. I will just select here proceed and I will click install. Okay, so here it asks for administrator password. Since I don't have one, I will just click here yes and it will install VirtualBox for me. This doesn't take much time. It takes maybe a minute or 2 depending on your system, and once it finishes it should open up your VirtualBox. And here is the finish window. We want to check Start Oracle VirtualBox and click on Finish. Let's wait a couple of seconds and here it is. This is the window of Oracle VirtualBox. Now let's do one more thing before we end this video. Let's see how we can create a virtual machine inside of VirtualBox. So this is the official window that we have. We have a couple of buttons right here, and here will be our machines that we currently don't have. So let's create one. Let's create our Kali Linux virtual machine. To do that, we want to click on this button that says New. Click on it, and it will ask us for a couple of information. Name of the virtual machine, and here let's say that we type Kali 2021. Here you can select the path where the machine folder will be stored. Here we select the type of operating system, and since Kali Linux is a Linux operating system, we will select right here Linux. And the version, now this can be a little bit tricky if you don't know, but luckily I'm here to tell you that Kali Linux is based on Debian, so we want to select here Debian 64-bit, or in case you have a 32-bit machine, you want to select Debian 32-bit. Since we downloaded the Kali Linux 64-bit and we have a 64-bit machine, we want to proceed with the version of Debian 64-bit. Let's click on Next. the next thing that it asks us is what RAM memory we want to give to this virtual machine. This is completely up to you. I'm just here to advise you that you should not go below 1 GB of RAM, and 2 GB of RAM is pretty much all you need. You don't need more than this. If you have like 4 GB of RAM or less, feel free to proceed by setting only 1 GB, but since I have more than 4 GB of RAM on my host machine, I can set here at least 2 GB. If you have like 32 GB of RAM on your host machine, you can even increase this up to 4 or 8 GB of RAM, depending on how fast you want your machine to work. Now, I'm completely fine with 2, so I'm just going to select 2048 megabytes, and I'm going to click on Next. Under the hard disk, it asks us for a couple of options. We just want to stick with the one that's already checked, which is Create a Virtual Hard Disk Now, and we want to click on Create. The hard disk file type will be VDI or VirtualBox Disk Image. Click on Next. And storage on physical hard disk. Now, this is completely up to you. I'm just going to go with dynamically allocated, and you have the explanation of both of these right here. As it says, a dynamically allocated hard disk file will only use space on your physical hard disk as it fills up to the maximum fixed size, although it will not shrink again automatically when space on it is freed. And a fixed size hard disk file may take longer to create on some systems, but it is often faster to use. So a fixed size is indeed sometimes faster to use, but nonetheless, I'm just going to go with dynamically allocated, and I'm going to click on Next. And the last option, I believe, is how much disk size we want to give to our virtual machine. Now, I advise you not to go below 25 to 30 gigabytes of hard disk space. I'm just going to select here like 38, it doesn't really matter. You can give it more or less if you'd like, but don't go below 20 to 25 gigabytes. Otherwise, your machine might not work. Okay? Now that we selected all of this, we can click on Create. And as you can see, we created our first virtual machine. We have it right here, as well as we have its information on the right. We have its general information, system information, display settings, storage settings, and a bunch of other things that we're going to take a look at in the next video. This doesn't mean that our machine will work. We still have an operating system to install before being able to use this machine. For now, we only created it inside of VirtualBox. In the next video, we're going to add our Kali Linux operating system or ISO image that we downloaded from the official website, and we're going to install it inside of this virtual machine. And hopefully, by the end of next video, we will have a working Kali Linux virtual machine. Welcome back. Just a quick update on the new Kali Linux website. Okay, so they have just changed the downloads section of this page. And how they made it can be a little bit confusing, so I'm just making a quick update video to explain which exact version should you download. So once you navigate to the Kali Linux page, navigate to the download section, and this is the new design. They separated different versions into different categories on this page. Now, since we talked about virtual machines, it might seem to you that we want to go to the virtual machines and download a version from here. But not exactly. For our course, we want to go to the bare metal, click on that, and here we want to download the version accordingly. We select 64-bit or 32-bit depending on our machine. Since my machine is 64-bit, I would go with the 64-bit version. If you're running an Apple M1 chip, then you want to select this one. Since once again, I'm running 64-bit, I want to go 64-bit installer, and it will download the ISO image on my desktop. Awesome. That's all that I wanted to say, and let's continue with the course. Welcome back. So in the previous video, we created our first virtual machine inside of our VirtualBox. Now it is time that we install our Kali Linux operating system inside of this machine. But to be able to do that, we want to change some settings inside of this machine first, before we actually start it. So, to access the settings of a virtual machine, we can select the virtual machine inside of our VirtualBox manager and click on Settings. Now, to even be able to install the Kali Linux operating system, we must first add it to this machine, right? And to do that inside of VirtualBox, we must navigate to the storage settings, and under the controller IDE, we want to click on this add icon. And if you didn't see it really well, it just looks like a disk with a plus. Pretty much click on it, and you want to click on this add button right here. Once you do that, you want to navigate to wherever you have your ISO image saved or your Kali Linux image saved. For me, it's on desktop, and you want to double click it. Then you want to select it right here in this small window, and you want to click on choose. Now under the controller IDE, you will have your Kali Linux image and you will have this empty image. Now this empty image we don't really need, so we can just right click it and remove attachment, and we will be left with just Kali Linux 2021.1 version. Okay, another thing that we want to do inside of the settings is we want to navigate to the network settings, and we want to change the NAT to bridged adapter. Now, if you want to read more about these adapters inside of VirtualBox, you can check out our networking PDF file that we created for this course, and it has an explanation on all of these adapters right here and why we use this one. In short words, we use bridged adapter because it allows our DHCP from our network to give an IP address to our Kali Linux virtual machine, and in this case our Kali Linux virtual machine will be viewed as another device on our network. It will be able to communicate with all the other devices inside of our network, with our router, with a laptop that you might have connected, with your mobile device. But if you have it under NAT, which is by default, it won't be able to do that. So let's just change it to bridged adapter, and under here you want to select the adapter name or the adapter that you want to use. Now, what I found from personal experience is that if you go with cable connection, it most likely will always work. Now, wireless adapters know to create problems sometimes, and they might need some additional drivers installation in order to run. So if you're able to, try going with cable or wired connection. Okay, awesome. These are the two settings that we wanted to change. Once we do that, we can click on OK, and right now we are ready to start our virtual machine. To do that, we want to click on this start arrow, and it will run our virtual machine. Or it will start the installation process of Kali Linux. Remember, it's an operating system, so it must be installed first. Here is the window of our virtual machine, and you will notice if you try to enlarge it, it will pretty much stay the same size. It will have this white surrounding it, but don't worry, it will not stay like this forever. It will only stay like this during the installation. So what we want to do is we want to choose the graphical install right here in this menu. You can also go with the install, but graphical install looks a little bit better. Let's click here, enter. And by the way, your mouse will not work inside of the virtual machine yet during the installation, so you must navigate with your keyboard inside of the installation process. Let's wait for the next step. And here it is. We want to select the language to be English for me. You can choose whichever language you want. The location, it doesn't really matter. I will just select United States, and the configuration of the keyboard. You can also choose whatever you like right here. I'm going to go with American English and click on next. And this installation process will actually take about an hour to finish. So of course this is not going to be an hour-long video, so I'm just going to skip through some longer parts of installation, and I'm just going to cover the steps where we actually have to choose something. I will fast forward the installation so you don't have to sit through a 1 hour video. Okay, so let's wait for the next step. And here is the next thing that comes up, which is configuring the network. So it asks us, please enter the host name for this system. You can type here also anything that you want. I'm just going to type here Kali, because we're installing Kali Linux. Press enter, And the next thing that it asks is the domain name. Here, for the purposes of the course, we don't need to set anything, we can just leave it empty and we can press enter to continue. Now, a user account must be created. So here, you create the full name for the user. For the purposes of this course, I'm just going to call it Mr. Hacker. Click on continue, and the username for the account that you will use to log in to Kali Linux. The account name will also be Mr. Hacker for me. For you, choose anything that you like, just make sure that you remember it after the installation. And press enter, and now we need to set the password for the user. Here you type the password, whatever you like, and here you confirm the password. Awesome. Once you do that, you also have an option to show password in clear. I don't really need that, so I'm just going to go on continue. And you can see sometimes mouse actually works, but sometimes it doesn't, so I'm just going to go and navigate again with my keyboard and select the time zone that I'm at. Since I'm at Eastern time zone, I'm going to select Eastern, you select whichever you want, and it will continue with the installation. Let's wait for the next step. And here it is, partitioning disks. Now this might be a little bit harder for you to understand in case you're first time running Linux. Nonetheless, here we want to go with the guided use entire disk. We don't want to go any other option, and here we want to select our own hard disk that we created. So you will probably have only one option here, just select that one and click enter. And at this part, we want to go with all files in one partition, as it says it's recommended for new users. For those of you that ran Linux before, you might also be familiar with /home/var/tmp, and these are just some directories that we get inside of Linux. Picture them as just some already made folders that Linux system gives us after the installation. We don't want to separate any of these. Let's pretend that we don't know anything about this, so we're just going to go with the recommended settings that says all files in one partition and click enter. It will ask us finish partitioning and write changes to disk. We want to click enter. And here it asks us for the confirmation where we want to click yes, so change from no to yes, and click enter. And this will pretty much start the installation process of your Kali Linux. Now there will be a couple of more questions during the installation, so I'm just going to fast forward to the next question. Okay, so after a couple of minutes we get this window prompted, so it asks us to customize our own desktop with different settings. So here, what we want to do is we want to select all of these that are checked by default, which is desktop environment, XFCE, and collection of tools. However, we also want to check this large option right here. This means that it will also install some additional tools inside of our Kali Linux machine. And the more tools, the better. We never know when we are going to use some of these tools, so let's just go and select large and we can proceed with the installation. This next part will take some time to finish. It will take around 30 to 40 minutes to finish, so just sit back, grab something to drink, and I will see you guys when the next question pops up. Okay, so here's the next question. And this isn't really that important to us. It would be more important if we were to install Kali Linux as a main operating system and not as a virtual machine. But let's read it nonetheless. As it says, it seems that this is the new installation is the only operating system on this computer. If so, it should be safe to install the grub bootloader to your primary drive. Warning, if your computer has another operating system that the installer failed to detect, this will make that operating system temporarily unbootable, though grub can be manually configured later to boot it. Now here we want to select yes, because our virtual machine doesn't have any other operating system running besides Kali Linux. So let's select yes right here and let's click on continue. Under here we want to select this /dev/sda and we want to click on continue. And this will pretty much finish our installation. It will take a couple more minutes for this to end, and then we will have a working Kali Linux virtual machine. And here is the last question. It says installation is complete, so it is time to boot into your new system. Make sure to remove any installation media so that you boot into the new system rather than restarting the installation. Since we don't have any installation media, we can just click on continue without unplugging anything or removing anything, and our installation is complete. Now our virtual machine will reboot and we will be able to use our Kali Linux virtual machine. Let's wait for a couple of seconds for our login screen to pop out. And here is our login screen. Our Kali Linux machine is working perfectly. Awesome. Now, here we want to type in the username that we created during the installation, as well as the password that we set during the installation. So I'm just going to go with Mr. Hacker, because that is what I set, and I will type here the password for Mr. Hacker account. This will open our desktop environment. In case you're also stuck like this with a smaller screen, in order to make your machine full screen, you can just lower the screen and enlarge it once again, and this will actually fix the issue in 90% of cases. And now we can see the Kali Linux desktop environment. As I mentioned, and as we already know by now, this is a Linux system. So if you're not familiar with the Linux system and the Linux terminal, command lines, and commands that we will use, make sure that you check out the bonus section of the course where we actually cover Linux basics, where we teach the basic commands, where we teach how we can use Linux terminal in order to execute what we want. Nonetheless, if you are familiar with Linux and with Linux terminal, feel free to proceed with the course. We made our virtual hacking machine, and the next thing that we want to do is we want to create a virtual machine that we will use to attack. Okay, awesome. We finished a big part of setting up our virtual lab, and I will see you guys in the next video. Welcome back. It's time to install the machine that we will use to attack. For this course, I have chosen the OWASP Broken Web Applications project. Why this machine? Well, first of all, it's very simple to install. It takes quite a little time compared to Kali Linux. It will only take us a minute or two to install it. And it also has a bunch of vulnerable web applications hosted on this machine that we can use to target and attack. Now, to download it, we can navigate to the link of sourceforge.net/projects/OWASP-BWA. Under this link, we will have the download button, and then just by clicking on it, we can start the downloading process, which will ask us where we want to save the OWASP Broken Web Application virtual machine. Now, since I already have it downloaded, I'm not going to do that, but I just saved it right here on my desktop. And as you may notice, once you start downloading it, it will take a couple of minutes because the file size is around 2 GB large. But once you finish with the downloading, you will have this zip file right here. So in order to get our files that we need, we must extract this zip file first. After you extract it, you will get a folder like this, and inside of that folder, you will have these files. Now, these are the files that we need in order to create a virtual machine. So let's get straight to creating it. Okay, open up your VirtualBox, and we're already familiar as to how we can start the process of creating a virtual machine. Navigate to Tools and click on New. Now, we get this window that we got for our Kali Linux as well, and here we're just going to call it OWASP-BWA. Now, of course, you can call it whatever you like. I'm just going to leave it with this name, and since this is also a Linux machine, under the type, we want to select Linux. The version of Linux, however, should be all the way down to Other Linux 64 or Other Linux 32-bit. Let me select Other Linux 64-bit, and I will proceed on Next. Under the memory size, you can leave it anything between 512 megabytes up to 1 gigabyte. It really doesn't need any more RAM memory. I'm just going to leave it on 1 gigabyte of RAM, and I'm going to proceed with the next step. This is the part that differs from Kali Linux installation. Instead of going with create a virtual hard disk now, we want to select use an existing virtual hard disk. And under that, we want to go to this icon right here, and we want to click on Add. Once we do that, we want to navigate to where our folder is with extracted files from our zip file that we downloaded. double click there, and you will have all of these options. Now, the file that we want to choose right here is going to be OWASP Broken Web Apps CL1 without any extension as these ones have. So we want to select this one, and you will notice that its size is also the smallest. Let's select it. Let's double click it again, and let's click on create. Before starting this machine, I just want to mention a few things. If we go to settings and we go to network settings, we also want to change from NAT to bridged adapter, the same thing that we did with our Kali Linux machine. But with this machine, we need to be a little bit cautious because this is a vulnerable machine. It hosts a web page with a bunch of vulnerabilities. So only use bridged adapter if you're running this machine in a safe home network. If you're running it in your own network, then feel free to use bridged adapter. Don't use bridged adapter in a company network or in a public network or anywhere else that there might be untrusted devices, even though it's a virtual machine. But nonetheless, it's always good to have maximum security as possible. So select bridged adapter. Under name, select the adapter that you want and click on OK. And that's pretty much it. All we have to do right now is start the machine, and it will start the process of installing all the things that it needs, and that pretty much takes a couple of minutes, not too long. So let's just wait for that. And here it is. After 2 or 3 minutes, the machine is ready to use. Now, you might notice that it doesn't have any display whatsoever. Instead, we get this command line interface that we can use. And it's made like this so that machine can take as little space as possible and it can be made as fast as possible. Of course, in order for us to actually be able to access this command line, we need to log in first. And it tells us down here that we can log in with username root and password OWASP BWA. So let's type that in. And it will give us something like a terminal. And we can use that terminal to run the commands, the same commands that we can run in a regular Linux terminal, such as ls, whoami, and a bunch of other commands. We can also ping other devices. And it also gives us our IP address right here, which in my case is 192.168.1.4. And this is another reason that we set it to bridged adapter. It gave me an IP address that I can visit from any network device that I have connected to my network. So I'm just going to go from my host machine and type in 192.168.1.4. Now, in your case, this will probably be a different IP address, so you can either check it right here, or you can also type the command ifconfig, which will also give you an IP address of OWASP BWA. So let me navigate to the IP address of this virtual machine inside of my host machine's browser. And this is the page that it should open up. Here we have many things from training applications to realistic intentionally vulnerable applications. We also have some old vulnerable versions of real applications. And we have applications for testing tools as well as some other things as well. Now, there are a lot of things here. We're not going to cover all of them, but we're going to cover some that are aimed at discovering most common website vulnerabilities. Now that we got it set up, let's also make sure that we can communicate with this OWASP BWA machine from our Kali Linux machine. So start both of them. We already have our OWASP started. Let's also start our Kali Linux machine and wait for it to boot up. So here is our login screen. Let's log in. And to be able to check whether we can communicate with our OWASP machine, what we can do is we can simply just open our terminal. And by the way, once again, if you're not familiar with terminal, make sure that you check out bonus section on Linux Basics. There we teach the basic commands of Linux terminal so you can get familiar with it, and it hopefully will become your second nature. In Kali Linux, to open terminal, we use this icon. It will open up this command line where we can type our commands, and in our case, we want to ping 192.168.1.4. And once again, this is in my case. In your case, it might be a different IP address. So I'm just going to press enter. And if you get an output like this, that means that we successfully pinged this machine. So the connection part is good. They can communicate between each other. And in order to close off this command, you can type Ctrl+C simply, and it will finish with pinging. Okay, awesome. Now that we set this up, the next thing and the last thing that we want to do in setting up our environment is we want to just create an account on TryHackMe website. So that will be a rather short video. We've finished most of our work, and let's create the TryHackMe account in the next video. See you there.